do, and keep it honest about the children tonight. It's about the young people tonight. So let's keep it about them, and we'll be good to go. All right. So go ahead, Fia, do your thing.
Excellent. I'd like to give it up next to Dame Dash. Dame, while some people may know you, many people may know you, but if you would take 60 seconds to introduce yourself, Dame and Dash.
Really? Well, I don't like to sound like I'm bragging, so sometimes I get uncomfortable about talking about myself, believe that or not. But I think we all know about Rockefeller, Jay-Z, Kanye, Kevin Hart, Rachel Roy, fashion, the art galleries, just me overall being an entrepreneur, a freedom fighter, and someone that likes to bring awareness to our self-worth as a culture. And right now what I'm doing is a television network, a streaming service, and, directing and making my own content, movies, television shows. So basically, I'm a director, a producer. I own the network. I own the streaming service. I don't outsource and, self-funded. And, right now I'm a member of the OSG, which is, a group of over 90 principals that come together weekly to talk about and discuss the things that the Board of Education simply aren't doing and how to be better at what they are doing and also how to do it on their own. And we also just did the project Everybody Eats, where because the Board of Education shut down and we knew there were problems with the food pantries because the churches were closed, I went and identified Beyond Burger so that we had a healthy alternative, but that people were eating the same food that I'm actually eating. So I can go on and talk about my dreams and talk about my past.
I won't let you.
Thank you. But that's really who I am right now. And also I'm a daddy. I'm a daddy of 5. I have a newborn right now. So I'm really excited about that.
Welcome, baby Dusko, to the world and to the OSG family. Very good. Next up on our introductions, I'd like to go to Dr. Malik Small. And Dr. Malik, if you would introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Malik Andrew Small. I'm a lifelong educator. I've been in education for over 20 years, been a school leader and in school leadership both on the district side as well as the charter side for the past over 15 years. I'm a proud member of the board of directors for the Mount Vernon Youth Bureau, father, husband, friend, and superhero for our children. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome. Happy to have you. Next up, I'd like to introduce the principal of Westside High School, Principal Akbar Cook.
Thank you, Fia. Good morning. Well, I said good morning. Good evening, everyone. Principal Akbar Cook, Westside High School. Since you're doing a BX, I'm claiming the Westside. I'm principal again at Westside High School. It's in Newark, New Jersey. 2016, we started a program called Lights On. It was because I was losing kids to gun violence. We opened up on the summer, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And we got rave reviews. And ever since then, I haven't lost any more kids to gun violence. I want to say about 2 years ago when I became principal, we started the first free laundromat for kids in my building. And it got us national attention. And just as recently met up with Dennis. He became a mentor to me and then my OSG fam in March. And now we got the tutelage of Dame Dash and Uncle Lay. So shout outs to my OSG crew, and I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you, Principal Akbar Cook. Next up, I have the honor of introducing, Akbar represents West Side, but he hails from the West Side, for real, Principal Amin Ra.
What's up, everybody? Thank you, Queen, for the introduction. I'm Principal Raw from the West Side, Compton in the building. You already know what it is. I'm a founder principal, opened my own high school out here in Watts, born and raised from the city. It's more than a high school. We're trying to create an ecosystem. We're trying to create something where it revolutionized the educational experience for young babies that come from the city in which I come from. I tell people all the time, I didn't want to be a principal just to be a principal. I want to be a principal to show ownership in the community in which I come from. So I connected with Dennis through social media, connected with the OSG fam, Dane, Dr. Malik Small, and it's just an OSG family. Thanks for welcoming me, and let's boom.
Happy to have you here. Priscilla, I'm not sure if we have any additional guests or if you wanted to say hello to the people, but I wanted to make sure that I introduced and acknowledge Priscilla Etchie, who is here with us. This is her brainchild and her vision in connection with OSG. So Priscilla, if you wanted to say hello to the people before we begin.
I'm just going to do like Russell Simmons says.
Even Russell says a little bit more than that. What happened? Okay, I guess we lost her. So let us jump right on in to why we are here. Again, this is an evening to discuss the importance of controlling the narrative in education and Black media. And our panelists are here to share with you their take on that, but also to advise you. And we're going to have a conversation after they share their position. And I wanted to open up by sharing an African proverb. The proverb says, "Until the lion tells his side of the story, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter." I'll give that to you one more time. Until the lion tells his side of the story, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. And so I invite us to open up. Mayor Sean Patterson, if you'd like to share controlling the narrative in education and Black media, what is your take on that? What do you believe is important?
So I think it's really critical that the Black media take the lead on controlling the narrative. We have a lot of schools that are very strong. We have a lot of leaders and educational leaders that are very strong. Very rarely do you see this highlighted. We definitely have schools that are failing and school districts that are failing our children. And that's the only thing that we focus on. But I think we need to definitely go out and find those bright spots. They are not as few and far between as people would like to think, so that we can bring them forward. And this is one of the reasons, while I'm not an educator, that I am connected and associated and honored to be a part or an honorary member of OSG, because I get to speak to incredible, innovative, dynamic, and committed educational leaders each day who are really focused on improving educational outcomes, educational attainment for their students, and most importantly, engaging with the parents and with the community. And so this is where we need to really be focused and looking at what is working. We can talk all day about what is not working. We've been doing that for decades, but we have not spent enough attention being intentional talking about what is working. And once we talk about what is working, then we can direct people to the best practices that are being implemented that are helping our children. Another thing that we have to talk about is in the midst of all of this, we still need to talk about the school to prison pipeline, because that is real. And in the context of having that conversation, again, we have to focus back on what has been breaking that school to prison pipeline and highlight those educators, highlight those school districts, highlight those communities that we're seeing a decrease in that school to prison pipeline. So that's one of the first ways that we can start to change the narrative, is not just talking about the failure and what's not working, but really focusing on what is working so that we can lift that up and scale that up in our regions and across the country.
Thank you, Mayor Sean. And when you talk about really telling the narrative and telling our own stories, I want to pause for an important commercial break. I'd like to introduce a young Miss London Carter Williams, who is an 11-year-old author, and the title of her book is My First Protest. And she's just going to take a few minutes to share with us her book, what it's about, and I hope that you will support her and purchase London's book, My First Protest. Ms. London?
Hi, I'm London. My book is about a waterbury protest that I went to in May, and when I attended this protest, I felt very inspired about everybody's feelings towards the topic. This protest was about equal rights and justice for Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and many more. And I wrote this book because I was inspired, and I wanted to let people know that their voices can be heard. And my book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, online.
Thank you, London. And I think I heard her say her book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. One more time.
Walmart and Walmart.
Okay. Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Walmart. My First Protest by London Carter Williams. We encourage you to go support her. That sounds like a great... Say it again, London?
Our First Protest. Can you show us the book, London? Hold up the book, London, if you have
give me all the way together. Our First Protest. Got it. Our First Protest. Excellent. Thank you, London. Remember that this is an evening about the children, and we are focused on the kids. The OSG Network, we are all about what are we doing for children, and every panelist here is committed to servicing and elevating our young people. So I'll invite our next panelist to share their position on what they believe controlling the narrative in education and Black media should be. I'll ask Dr. Malik Small to share with us his position. Dr. Small, you're muted.
Got it. Am I muted now? I'm good?
We can hear you.
Awesome. So again, good evening. In terms of the discussion tonight, I was asked specifically to speak about how vision is important when it comes to controlling the narrative and staying ahead of the curve in education. So a lot of times when I speak to young people, I speak to them about
let me see.
their vision is for their lives, because I know that unless you can conceive it, there's no way you can achieve it. And so just speaking to young people about how to formulate a vision for their lives, speaking to them
you sent the one, you sent mine here?
In terms of who they are as Black and Indigenous people, because it's very important that you know your history so that you have a context around what it is that you need to do to move forward. So tonight I will be speaking a little bit about that and offering up some clear steps and guidance around how young people can formulate a vision for their lives.
Got it?
Thank you, Dr. Small. And when we think about vision and controlling the narrative, I want to invite Dame to share some of his thoughts about what it means controlling the narrative in education and Black media, because he talks often in OSG. We are students under Dame often, and he talks about the importance of controlling the narrative of us telling our stories. So Dame, if you would.
Well, I think perspective is everything.
Unmute.
Oh, shit. Sorry about that. I think perspective.
One more time, Dame. You're still muted.
I think perspective is everything. And, I think muscle is controlled by narrative, and brains can be controlled if they're not on point. So the way we perceive ourselves is how they're going to perceive us. What they tell us that we're supposed to be is not. We're supposed to be the boss, not supposed to be so happy that they're giving us an opportunity. They should be happy we're giving them the opportunity. The way I look at education, I think it's necessary, but what we're taught is almost to just have a 9-to-5 and survive and not even work for something or equity in something that you can pass to your children, and that winning is working your whole life, paying off debt, and then retiring when you're old. That's supposed to be a W, that you're only supposed to work. You're only supposed to see your family on holidays, and you're supposed to work every day in between. You're only supposed to rest 2 days out the week and work 5. I think that should be opposite. And the stories that are told, which is the reason why, I decided to have a television network I thought was so important, is because things are put in our face all day. These patterns are what we get addicted to. You look at television, they run the same commercials, the same television programming day in, day night. Nothing different till you believe it. You might not like it, but after you hear it so many times, you like it. Look at the state of the world right now. Someone could say something so ridiculous confidently to the extent that a billionaire would have people that don't have money donating to someone that has more money over a conspiracy just because it's said confidently. The education that we're given don't tell us that we're the ones that created. The movies that are made, even if there's a movie made in Egypt, they still have a white man playing it. If there's a movie about Puerto Rico, They still got a white man playing the Puerto Rican. Look at Tarzan. The narrative is always we need them. They're the plug. It makes it where we fight each other because we're protecting them. We'd rather fight our brother than hurt them because we feel it's our only way to survive. That's not the narrative. Our history is beautiful. Where we're from is beautiful. What we can do is beautiful. What we do when we stick together is beautiful. We don't need them to sell our own culture back to our own culture. It's about that narrative of what the normal is. The normal is we're the boss. We make our own content. We tell our history. And the education we're given is so that we can sustain without needing anybody. Teaching us how to farm. Teaching us how to have entrepreneurship and build equity in your family. Teaching us how to pass laws. Even in education, in politics. The last couple, most laws were passed about 150 years ago. Most laws. There were slaves. Most of those people that passed those laws had slaves. Right now, that would be illegal. So how are we listening to laws and education that was implemented by people that were doing things that today would be illegal? So things have to change. If the narrative doesn't come out that we're number one, it's the wrong narrative. If the narrative is that we need them to survive, to make our own culture, and we need to work for them, that's the wrong narrative. If the history is, despite the fact that everything in the Bible took place in Africa, we still have a European interpretation of a name with blue eyes and blonde hair. We're born into believing that God is white, whether they say it or not. That's the wrong narrative. So I get, inspired, I get emotional, I get hyped, because I feel like, I've been feeling this and no one else really gets it because a lot of people are stuck in that program, the wrong narrative. I don't act in somebody else's movie or script. I write my own script and direct it. That's what life is supposed to be. You go to other cultures, they laugh at us because we work so hard. Try to get something done in France. They take lunch for 4 hours. They're like, you Americans work so hard for nothing. Life is meant to, what is real wealth? Money is not real wealth. Love is wealth. Laughing is wealth. A boss doesn't only care about himself. You're a boss because you care about other people, like a dad, before you care about yourself. And you're fearless about it. So narrative is everything. I think within education, we have to reapproach it. Within financial empowerment, we have to reapproach it. Within therapy, unrecognized trauma needs to be dealt with. And as far as economic empowerment, if everybody's rich, usually people aren't fighting. And also, us fighting each other instead of fighting, no one should be fighting. We're adults. But we shouldn't be thinking it's cool to kill another brother. A brother.
Dame, if I could, I want to ask you to hold that thought for a moment, because you mentioned several points that I think are important and relevant to some of our other panelists. So you actually mentioned leadership and leading with love as a boss. You actually talked about farming and teaching us to tell our own stories, and when we think about young people, how we educate them. And so I think that's a perfect segue for the next panelist, who I want to invite to sort of give us his take on controlling the narrative for education in Black media. And so that's Principal Akbar Cook. If you would talk about what you believe controlling the narrative means and how it shows up.
Okay, zip it up.
So Dane, he touched on it. He said the boss is like a dad. So when I got into education, all of us that got into education, we didn't get into it for the money. We got into something was calling us. It was in our DNA to take care of the less fortunate. So when I got to Westside, it's not about the ideas that I have. The kids run the building. Literally, the kids come to me with problems, barriers, I call it obstacles. And it's my job as the dad of the building. I have the pulse of the building for me to remove it. So it started off as maybe they didn't have clean clothes. It's nothing to talk about. I got to make sure you're clean. I got to make sure you're fed. So I make sure I'm feeding them. So anything they can, and we're not even, and I'm a principal, and I'm not talking about life after me. I'm talking about right now. You cannot worry about what's going on at home. I'm going to be there. I'm going to get you deodorant. I'm going to get you toothpaste. I'm going to do whatever I can to make you successful. And that's just something that's in me and should be in any person that's leading children, right? You have to have that in you, right? And if you don't, move out the way and let somebody else get there, right? So I started just looking at them. And mind you, Westside High School was bad. It was some thugs in there when I got there. But I had to stop looking at the outer exterior and figure out a way to tap in. And love was it. It was just love. I'm going to love on you, make you laugh. I'm going to be your solace so you don't got to worry about what's out in those streets. But while I'm doing it, and Dame talk about all the time, I'm going to be fly, right? I'm going to be as fly as I can because you know the narrative outside is I'm going to gravitate to the drugs or to the gangs and all of that. And they got their stuff together. So we as educators going to start putting these positive men of color, women of color, indigenous in front of them and show them that we can get to the bag and we can change the narrative that we've been talking about today. Then they're going to half for you. This is a microwave society. It's not right there and right there, Johnny, on the spot. They're going to gravitate to what's there. So when everything I do is about them, but I'm not forgetting. As educators, we learn to backwards plan, right? So the end result is making sure everyone gets to whatever we deem as the American dream, right? We want them to be able to earn a living wage. So what we've been doing at my school, and I talk about it all the time, is trying to figure out how to get everyone there. When you speak education, everybody keep talking about college. Everyone doesn't have to go to college to get the American dream or to change your narrative or change your stars. So I don't focus on that. Do I take care of my babies that want to go that route? Absolutely. But what about my other kids that may want to do stuff with their hands? You talk about trades. You talk about the military. You talk about all these other things. And then you still have to factor in that some of these babies had babies and they may not can go right down. So how do I get that child a living wage? So again, everything I talk about, Fia, is about the kid. Give them their own individual learning plan and see what's innate in them and what they're passionate about and build on that. If we can do that, that's the only way we're going to change the narrative. But the whole time, as Dame says, staying fly and showing them the bag. Otherwise, you're wasting their time because there's someone out there on the block that's going to give them fast money and they're going to gravitate towards that. So that's what we've been doing. And I just got hot, Fia. I'm not going to lie. I got hot at the right time. Lightning done struck a couple times. But it ain't going to stop. I'm going to keep putting my foot on the neck of all these other principals till they do right by their kids and they make sure that they got the kids at the forefront and they show my kids and their babies how to get to the best. So I'm going to stop there for you.
Excellent. Look, I'm hyped because of how you said it. I'm going to keep my foot on the neck of other principals until they do right by our babies. We are here to serve. If you show up as an educational leader, or as a leader, period, you should be in servant leadership. And when you serve others, that is how you elevate and you become great. And when you think about controlling the narrative, I'd love to hear from Principal Ra and let him tell a story and his perspective on controlling the narrative in education and Black media.
Yo, listen, I'm putting my foot on some necks too. Hey, leave some necks for me. No, just really truthful. Look, this notion of narrative is really important because it's always a story of they, right? And the story of they is a lot of and that centers white supremacy. They want us to be, they suppress or they want us to assimilate, right? And then growing up and where I came from, my father's home. My father told me this. He said, "You may not feel that you are at war, son, but you're in a war." Right? And when I was young, I never really thought much of it until you start realizing how this system will work on you, right? And how this system will say how you are supposed to be, right? And then you become this black man and you want to be something, right? You want to be something. And this be, then you realize this be is you start being enslaved to something. Like, I didn't want to just be a principal. I want to do the principalship. I want to dismantle and own. Right? I want to own access points. So the young people, I want you to dismantle and I want you to own. Like we're always talking about going to Akbar said, go to college. College is still a white institution for most people on the West Coast. For me to go get the Black experience, I gotta go to the South, I gotta go somewhere else. Right? So we gotta own access points. Right? We gotta own businesses. So So I don't want you to be the next doctor. I want you to do, right? I don't want you to be enslaved. I want you to do. So when I'm a principal, I want to show my young people what it's like to get the bag, what it's like to be your authentic self, what it's like to be unapologetic, what it's like to say, yo, I'm more than a principal. You're more than a student. You're more than a test score. You're more than what that one thing that they say that you are, right? And that's what's important to me. So that's what the OSG fam, and that to me is what's revolutionary, is to be able to own, dismantle, and I can't tell, see, as teachers, we talk about modeling, right? I can't teach my students how to dismantle and own if I'm not dismantling and owning. I can't teach my students how to be a boss if I'm not a boss. I can't teach my students how to dream if I stop dreaming. So I got to continue this cycle of dreaming, dismantling, and owning. And I tell principals all the time that 4.0 student that continues the cycles of oppression means nothing. It means nothing. Right? So when we're starting about getting students life ready, it's about really giving them something that I call sacred knowledge, right? And sacred knowledge is, Marcus Garvey said it, a student that doesn't know themselves is like a tree with no roots, right? And when you talk about Sankofa, that means that I have to provide this sacred knowledge for my young people to be able to reach back and know their history, to know where they're going. And on top of that, I want them to gain protective knowledge, young people, protective knowledge. That means that you have the ability to be the guards at the gates of your mind. That means the quality of information that you let in, you are able to guard. And then once you're able to do that, you achieve self-actualization. But then that self-actualization must grow into community actualization, meaning that you have an obligation to go back and teach others how to do the same thing.
All right, Principal Ross, I'm going to hold that thought for me just a moment. I love that. This is a fiery, passionate group of leaders. I want to shout out our founder, Dennis McKeezy, and of course, the OSG Network. What brings us all here together, we are a tribe of leaders passionate. I also want to remind some of our guests, if you are not a panelist, I ask that you would turn your cameras off. Again, we are live, so non-panelists, we're happy to have you, but if you would turn your cameras off, we appreciate that. So let us open it up. I know that there may be some questions coming in the chat, but I want to bring us back to some thinkings that I heard. We have to make sure that we show our students how to get the bag and be fly and control their narrative. I heard us talk about we are not at war, but we are most certainly in a war. We need to dismantle and own. So some of these thoughts about controlling the narrative, we teach our students to read stories all the time from early childhood. But have we taught them to craft their story? That you have to tell your story. So let us open up the floor and invite some of our panelists to talk about how important it is to give them voice as we control the narrative.
So, one of the founding principles of my school really has to do with empowering students to have voice. But before I jump into that, speaking in conversation about economic empowerment, like economics, but I also want to throw in, as African Americans, as a people, just in this country, we spend in excess of $1 trillion a year. Which means economic empowerment may not be quite the only problem, because the problem isn't the fact that as a people we don't have money, because we do. There are barely 10 nations around the world that has that much money as a country, and we're not a country. We're a group of people within a country, and we spend in excess of 10 trillion. So what I'd like to offer is that you have to look holistically. It's not just about black economics, it's about the trifecta of economics, politics, and culture, right? Culture being the glue that holds everything together. So when you look at our Jewish brothers and sisters, it's their culture that allows them to be powerful economically, politically, etc. And so you got to look at all three. And so in saying so, and thinking about the work that we have to do as educators, culturally responsive education must be at the forefront of the work that we do. Because if our children are not rooted in who they are, then they're going to be rooted in something else. And if you're trying to play a game with someone else's rules, you're playing someone else's game and someone else's rules, you're always going to lose. So ancient Kemetic proverb says true teaching is not an accumulation of knowledge, it's an awakening of consciousness, which goes through successive stages, whether you call those grades, whether you call those degrees. As educators, it's up to us, number one, to build it within capacity, build the capacity in our students to be reflective on who they are, because a black man can't be a white man can't be an Asian man. We are African people. We're people of African descent. And unless we have that in our schools, unless that's where we're teaching our children, they won't know how to spend money when they get it. They're going to spend money all over the place. But if they're not spending money with each other, they're not community building, and they're not creating scenarios where they can be successful. They're creating scenarios where they can be individual success, like a Barack Obama, but they're not creating collective success as a community. So culturally responsive education must be at the center of everything that we do, so that we can empower children to go out into the world with context and be rooted in who they are. Because I'll tell you something, if a black child looks in a mirror and sees someone that he loves because he knows his grandmama and he knows his ancestors were great, then he's not going to kill the person that looks just like him, because the love that he has for himself is going to run so deep and won't allow him to hurt other people that look like them. So again, rooting our children in their culture has to be prime. And when you look at when you have this conversation around ownership and black economics, you cannot have the conversation without at the same time speaking about politics, culture, and economics all together.
Thank you for that. You talked about the trifecta of economics. I love that. To think about it in that way. We have some questions from the youth or the panelists, and so I'd like to throw those questions to all of you. Again, we have some new guests in the room. If you're not a panelist, I ask that you would turn your camera off, please. Again, any guests who have just arrived,
hey, let me put you on
if
this
you are not a panelist, please turn your camera off.
Hello?
Thank you.
It's a simple case. You know, like, okay,
So this next question is, what do you want people to know about, and this is for the educators, pardon me, what do you want people to know about your school, the children who you serve, and the job that you do? And feel free, panelists, to jump in.
Well, I'll jump in. So I founded my school with the notion of we're called the change agents. And change agents mean that they're going to go out, they hungry. They really live by three things. They hungry, they humble, and they smart. And they are inherently, they get a lot of this love that knows that we talked about that proverb. See, a lion is not going to teach a zebra how to be a lion. But see, a lion will teach a whole bunch of his cubs how to go and get it. And I'm the lion, and we at the Lion's Den, so I'm teaching them how to go into the world and go eat, right? So this change agent mindset, they chopping wood and they carrying water every day because they know what it takes. So that's the mentality. You come and meet some of my change agents, they gonna give it to you with the mouth. They're gonna give it to you with every spirit that they can give it to you with. So they just a whole bunch of lions. That's what we say. Our change agents in mind.
I love that. Change agents, and they are some lions. Come on in here. All right, next up, who do we have? Who wants to share? I'll repeat the question for you.
I'll go, Phil. My boy, listen.
All right.
This panel got my juices going, man. This is crazy.
Right?
Listen, John Lewis talked about good and in good trouble, man. I stay in good trouble. And I got a lot of people that don't like me because of it. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I will say, we had Ken Williams on our OSG platform not too long ago, and he talked about us projecting brokenness on this generation. This generation is the most fearless generation we've ever seen. You can tell because they still out there with COVID out there. They don't even care. But if we channel that energy to do some of the things that we all talked about, they're going to change the world. It's no doubt about it. It's no doubt about it. I listen, man. For a while, they called me like the kid whisperer because I knew what they was going to do before they did it, right? And you have to be that way. right? And it takes Dennis sometimes to tell me, Cook, man, you got to worry about the teachers too, because I be so focused on the youth. Like Ross said, those are my cubs. How dare I let them down? I will never be the weakest link. But we cannot stop there. Like, we have to, you know, my thing is, from the moment they enter my doors until they gainfully employed, I'm going to be with them. I'm not going to leave them. But what does that mean? What does that mean, Cook? So it's literally saying, like my baby was on here in London, she talked about protests. I couldn't send my kids out to protest. I didn't even know what they was going to protest. They'd have been doing some nonsense down there. So peeling back those layers, unpacking further, show my babies how to protest. We got to do things of that nature, right? Then it's like, okay, what is the living wage? Even further, what's a Democrat and a Republican? I don't even know. For years, I thought Democrats was the middle class, Republicans had all the dough. That ain't it. But how am I supposed to lead them if I don't know? So it's us being lifelong leaders, but it's literally just tying in to what is going to make them successful. So again, I talk about it all the time because I see all of us. Like I have a program at my school. We talk about schools. I have an associate's degree program for my kids. But that's for the nerds, and I can call them nerds because I went to school long like all the rest of the nerds that's in here, right? We consider principals are nerds, okay? So I can talk about my nerds, right? But what about little Akbar?
Still in school.
Yeah. What about little Akbar in the back? He ain't going, baby. He done struggled for 13 years. How dare I send him to college so he can owe Sally Mae? I'm going to send him to the trade. Listen, my man. You could do this, that, and the third. And when you want to flip it, you'll be out of school in 1 year while all the rest of the nerds are still in there, owing all of that debt, and now they hiring you to come fix their stuff up. Like ownership. Like don't let little Akbar in the back feel bad because he don't get this what Ross said, this slave mentality of what they taught us. No, he gonna be all right. And we ain't talked about my special needs population. We didn't talk about them. We didn't talk about them. What we gonna do for those babies? They all can't be talking about welcome to Walmart. And no knock on my welcomers. No knock. Kevin Hart just had the joke. I had some great welcomers. I seen that. But we gotta figure out, Phil, what can we do to get everybody? And I don't think education is doing that right now. They not. They worrying about the nerds and they forgetting my kids in the middle of the room and into the back of the room. So what at Westside we've been trying to do is yes, take care of that, but do the farm like Dame talk about. Create your own hot sauces, create your own this, do your own apparel, all the cracks, iPhones screens, teach them how to fix those, like give them stuff that they can live. I want my kids, it would be like the Hunger Games, right? When it's time to fight for their district, I can send that baby out there and know they're going to bring that thing back home. So that's what we're trying to do at West.
I love that. And what I heard you say, what you were really talking about is multiple pathways for your children. And so when there was an idealistic phrasing of No Child Left Behind, you are truly talking about no baby, not one, left behind. And showing up so that you provide each of them with what they come to us with so that they can move into what's next and stand on their own 2 feet. One of the things that I said as a principal is I am here to raise upright men and women, people who put their key in a door they pay for. So I hear you and I feel you, brother. Dr. Malik, you wanted to come in and offer a response to that.
Absolutely. A couple of propositions. First of all, as Black men and as Black principals, we're in the business of saving lives first. We're in the business of saving lives. Nationwide, less than 2% of the teaching force is Black men. Think about that for a second. I'm a child. I go to school every day. And less than 2% of the people that I see in front of me are Black men, so I don't know what it looks like, what Black men look like to lead, to love, to give.
Small.
Right.
I'm sorry, brother. I don't know if you know that your camera's off. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, the host, it's the host. The host has to put the camera back on.
We can hear him and see him, though. He's on
go ahead now.
Okay, and so the other thing that I want to put forth as a proposition is that bad teachers, first of all, studies show that 1 year with a bad teacher leaves a child 3 to 4 years behind, right? And so when you think about that, the other thing I'd like to put forth as a proposition is that bad teachers kill more children annually than police do. They kill more children annually than police because they kill their spirits, they kill their hopes, they kill their dreams, right? And so, luckily, I'm in a position to put my foot in a lot of asses to make sure that the killing stops, at least as far as I'm able to control in East New York. Second of all, when it comes to education, there's a difference between schooling and education, right? Dame spoke about education, but there's a difference between schooling and education. Schooling focuses on rules, it focuses on standardization, conformity, memory of facts, normalcy. Education is centered on freedom, variation, creativity, uniqueness, pride, responsibility, making meaning, preparing students to be compassionate and creative citizens who help them develop and sustain righteous societies, and where they're able to self-determine and engage in the pursuit of happiness. And so this country has put a system in place of schooling, not a system of education. And the system of schooling is doing the exact job that it was intended to do. It was intended to be destructive to our children. And so it's for us to come and not reform the system, because you can't reform a system or fix a system that wasn't designed to be successful. It's for us to come and just break it, throw it out. And so one of the major things that we do at my school, when you walk through the hallways, on every wall and every rafter, our children see pictures of people who are doing amazing things who look just like them. When we do a career day, we bring in annually judges, attorneys, every profession you can think of. But the trick is they're all Black and indigenous people, so they can see, they can have a vision for their lives because they can see people who look like them, who came before them, and they can envision themselves doing those same things. The other things that we do that are very unique at my school, as part of the course load, they have to take a course called Africology, okay? Because
say that again.
Africology is a course that all my children take. And in that course, the first unit of study is identity. The second unit of study is the 1419 project. I might get that mixed up, but you know what I'm talking about. And so again, they're able to be rooted in who they are. And when you're able to root yourself in your culture, in your history, and recognize that you have a beautiful history. The first media, because this conversation had a lot to do with media, before there were TVs and radios and things, the media of the day was the writing on the wall. And so their ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, they wrote on the wall, right? And if you realize, if I'm a young kid and I look at pictures thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago and realize that it was people that looked just like me who created civilization, who created the 7 liberal arts, who created and studied astronomy and geology and geometry and things, how can I look in a mirror and not know that greatness also resides in me? And so again, what's most important for me as a school leader is to create opportunities for students to really be rooted in who they are, so that when they go out into the world, they're centered and they have a strength, because they know that what they see in the media, what they see in the news is not true. We're the only people who, I don't want to say allow ourselves, but who are defined by the worst of ourselves. No other people define themselves by the worst of their people. They define themselves by the most successful of their people. Because the truth of the matter is, we have more kids going to college every year than we have going to jail. But if I'm looking at the TV every day and all I see is people going to jail, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because I don't know that my real true trajectory should be that of college, should be that of career, because that's what most of the people that look like me are doing. So again, in rewriting that narrative, we have to hold our children to the images. Those who control the images control the minds. And we have to control the images, and we have to control the narratives.
Thank you for that. Those who control the images control the minds. So we have one of the members of the Mount Vernon Youth Council. If you would come in, I believe, Precious, you had a question you wanted to ask?
Yes, I do. At first, well, hi everybody. My name is Precious. At first, the question was for Principal Rob, but after hearing everyone speak, I believe all the educators can answer this one. So I read an article that Principal Rob was featured in, and it was on Voyage LA. And one of the questions were, has it been a smooth road? So my question to the educators on here is, as a black man in any working field, do you ever think the road is easy or going to be easy? Or do you believe there will always be bumps in the road because of how society is set up?
Look at, I'll just start off. If it ain't, I'm just a person. It ain't supposed to be easy. I mean, no matter what I do, it's gonna be some bumps in the road. If it ain't worth fighting for, it ain't worth having. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's in everything I do. When it comes to getting a girl, you gotta work at it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta go get it. It's gonna be some bumps in the road. You may get 5 turned down. You may gotta go and talk to 20 more honey before you get it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the same aspect, you gotta have this mentality, and that's why I say, like, you gotta be hungry. So when you start developing this mindset of hunger, and you get that wisdom from others, right, and you start getting this consciousness, you understand that things gonna be happening. It's gonna be lessons on the journey. One of my favorite books is called Akbar, and it's about the story of Santiago that found his hidden treasure, his purpose in life, right? And during the story, he's getting robbed, he done got beat up, but he still continued his journey to find his hidden treasure in life. So what I tell young people is that this journey that you're on of self-discovery is find your hidden treasure. And once you find your purpose, and you're purpose-driven and you're mission-driven, everything else is a lesson learned for you to go on that mission and complete that mission. When you become fascinated with everything else as a distraction, a career, or whatever the case may be, you start to lose that critical hope. You start not to wake up in the morning. You start not to. So that's why it's so back to what Dr. Small said. Like, we gotta dismantle it, right? Like we gotta have this ownership, and knowing that you are on this journey. So you gonna get stoned. You gonna get like that. You gonna get stones thrown at you, but you gotta make the stones into diamonds. Right? And when you have that mentality, when you have that mindset, you feel like you can overcome anything. Like when I'm with my young people, man, they feel like they can run through a wall. You know what I'm saying? They feel like they can do that. So I want to instill that intrinsically in young people. But for me personally,
it's an emergency, so is it something to do ex parte?
When you see me, they're like, "Oh, why are you a person?" I get the question, how did you become a person?
But they consider that emergency?
You know what I mean? It's not enough degrees that you can have that's going to overcome the obstacles that happens in society today. So you're going to be met with different challenges, but it's going to prepare you for the ultimate challenge of getting that.
Yeah, I know. But we have to do it.
That's what I would say.
I want to agree with my brother Rob over there on the West Coast. If it ain't rough, it ain't right. First of all, in the book, The Alchemist is an amazing book, because if you know about the science of alchemy,
so will we have to do that in New York? We do that in New York, and we have to do that in LA.
Metals and transforming it into gold. But the real story behind the alchemist has to do with self-transformation, right? Self-transformation, which means looking in the mirror, being reflective, but also being informed.
Yeah, but
the future, the first thing you got to recognize that the future, there actually is no such thing as the future. The only thing that exists is the present and the past. And so when you think about a vision for yourself and a purpose for yourself, because you want to go forth into the future, you got to be rooted in the present in terms of where do I stand today, as when I look out at the rest of the world, right? And knowing where I stand today, but being informed about those who came before me. And so let me give an example. You see all the young people out in the streets protesting over the last several months, right? What people fail to realize is that each of those young people who decided to go out and say, I'm going to create the future, and it's going to be a future that's different than the one that my enemy has prepared for me. Because the thing is, if you don't have a vision for yourself, someone else is going to have a vision for you. If you don't have a vision for yourself, someone else will have a vision for you. And their vision for you is a graveyard, a jail cell, a welfare line, a pole to swing on. So you gotta have a vision for yourself, but the vision for yourself has to be rooted in those who came before you. Because if you don't know the struggle that came before you, you can't reach back and grab that baton so that you can run forward and continue to race. And so our young people that's out here making changes, making moves, doing the damn thing, is because they stand on the shoulders of people who have been struggling year after year, decade after decade, century after century, since we arrived in this country. And remember that slavery isn't the start of our history. Slavery was an interruption in our history, because we stand on a mighty history. We stand on the shoulders of people who created life, created civilization, created high science, created politics, created economics. And so when you're able to be rooted in who you are and where you came from, it's going to inform the fight, and it's going to give you the capacity and the ability to formulate a mighty vision for yourself so that you can go forward and create the future that you imagine.
Thank you, Dr. Small. I don't know if you wanted to weigh in.
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk about it, and thank you guys for that. Precious, I want to talk about, I'm a coach, and one thing that I teach my young men, we don't call fouls in practice, right? And I tell them they're going to get cheated before they go to these places. Like, life ain't fair. Like, when you start enabling them, and I don't know why in our culture now, the women, love you ladies, but we coddle our young men so much that when it's time for them to go out there and live on their own, they can't. They just, and y'all know it. You know, he always with his mama. I'm not saying I had a mama and a grandma, but my mother, boy, you better go get it, right? So I don't teach my young men to cry foul and all that. No, I told you was going to get cheated. You better go out there and you better figure it out. So what happened, Precious, is we started winning championships because I didn't give them a scapegoat. I told you it was going to be hard. Take what's already God-given in you and unleash it on them. I look at some of these great schools. I say, you know how many hoods you had to walk through and run because you was going to get jumped? Take that same pain and apply it with your talent and see what comes back. They got that movie, I forgot what my boy Riddick was in. You keep what you kill. Go kill him on this court. And I don't want nobody to say I'm talking about killing, but kill them on this court and bring back home that championship. And we've been winning. You got to give them hope. If you keep saying, oh, I'm cheated. Think about how many coaches you see on the sideline and go, oh, I don't do that. I'll be looking like, it's a pretty, I told you what's going to happen. Now go get it. When you start building men up that way, and women, they can't come to me. What you come to me for? I told you he was going to cheat. And it's like, all right, Cook, I got it. And we changed our narrative. Now, ain't no more babysitting the young men that I'm in front of, and they going out there and get them. So that's it. Yes, it's hard, but we can't keep projecting our brokenness on the Precious.
So Precious, you asked the gentleman, but as the lady present on this panel, I have opened the school, been the official closer, and been charged with rebuilding and rebirthing the school to take it to its highest achievement. So I want to quote Audre Lorde to insert a woman's perspective, if you will. Audre Lorde said that if I didn't define myself for myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive. And what she's talking about is we have to teach our young people who you are and to decide and define who you are. And the changing of your life is about making a decision. So if you live in the middle of the most difficult, the grittiest, but you make a decision that you're going to do something different, that you're going to use your education and your righteous mind to change your life, then it is our job as leaders to make sure that when you show up, we have everything in place so that you get what you need. And if you can't figure it out, it is our job to make sure that we have created a school community, hire people who are going to love you and pour into you and work hard for you so that you get to figure it out. So I saw Akbar on TV a couple of years ago, and I felt like oddly connected to this man on with Ellen getting a giant check for his washing machines. One, I was thinking, dang, why didn't I think of that? Right? First, I was like, yo, I'm a kid's news. Why did I think of that? But for each of us, as we bring our gifts, Priscilla, as leaders, and as we think about controlling the narrative in education in Black media, we're talking about telling our stories. And so the question I want to put to all of the panelists now, we live in an age where they tell their story every day. They are messaging the world about what they do, where they go, sometimes, unfortunately, who they do it with. I want you to talk a little bit about controlling the narrative in education in Black media and really speak into our young people and the stories that they are putting out about themselves.
I guess we got a good little
all right, come through,
team going. All right, I'll start off first.
All right, let me know.
You know, I gotta come through. You know, we 3 hours behind. So I still got in it.
Oh, that's right.
You know, I think it's really important when we talk about So when we talk about controlling the narrative, I said it earlier. Put on the necks of principals. I'm putting foot on the necks of these producers. I'm putting foot on the neck of superintendents. I'm putting foot on the neck of whoever are at the access point where they have the power to change the narrative, right? So like, we're talking about the test score. We talk about all these different things. There's a narrative around young people that if you take some test score, you're not smart. You go here, you're not smart. Whatever the case may be. And I tell people, and even as a principal, I don't want to just create. I want to document. Right? Because creation is always happening at my school. I want to document. I want to tell the story of my young people. I want my story. I want to give voice to the voiceless, help to the helpless, and hope to the hopeless. Right? And that comes through with giving them the voice to now use this phone. Now use what social media has to say, no, we are the boss. Right? I am that brilliant mom. Right? I am all of that. So I think it's important for us to continue to push on the necks of people who are at these access points. And if they're not going to change, then we dismantle them, we take their position, and we get with people like OSG, we get with people that understand the power of narrative, so we now define it, right? And that young people now take control of their voice to say, hey, college or wherever I'm going, this is who I am. This is my story. This is what I project into the world. And this is the other young people that's right behind me or along with me that is going to continue. And it's not just a moment, it's a movement. So like all those different things are critical. Like I highlight that in my book, Revolutionizing School Culture. It's like, see, we're working in a world of evolution. We're trying to fight against an existing reality, right? That is, like Malik said it, there's a system that is designed against our young people. Like we're trying to fight against a system that's designed to work harder against. So we will never truly change something fighting against that existing reality. In order to really change that, we need to dismantle that reality. Meaning that we need to literally change the system. Like throughout history, we have always said the narrative is around analytical intelligence. I'm sure Dave, how many of y'all scored above the 1800s on the SAT?
I got a 700. I was terrible. And I didn't feel bad about it, you know?
You know what I'm saying?
I think what people have to understand, number one, is the freedoms that we have now that we didn't have before should be appreciated. So when I was coming up, you know, I'm 49, there was no internet. There was no distribution where you could be heard. There was always a gatekeeper. There was always someone that stopped you from saying the truth. You had to say what they wanted to or pay a heavy price. You had to completely be sold out to get to the masses. The difference now is the internet. And, you know, the internet is rapid. It happens daily. And, you know, the algorithms, like I was watching The Social Dilemma, and really it's programming. And, you know, what you have to understand is our oppressor is never going to help us. They're never going to help us become their boss. The reason why they try to control us, to teach us that if you don't fit in, if you don't pass these tests, if you don't, you know, if you're not right by the therapy that studied on not our culture but another culture, if you don't fit into their patterns, then you're wrong. You know, my daughter's 13 or 12 years old, and I'm like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I don't know. All she knows is she wants to go to school. All she knows is she wants to go to college because she's been told that by someone that went to college that doesn't even make so much bread. So I said, I bet you want a 9 to 5 too, Tallulah. And she said, what's a 9 to 5? That's when I knew I did my job. Because a 9 to 5 is not supposed to be normal. Working 8 hours a day for somebody else is not normal. We're actually programmed to believe that we're supposed to train to have a boss. We're supposed to train to be dependent on credit and somebody else. And we're supposed to be nice to a nerd that can't dance better than us, can't dress better than us, can't fight better than us, cannot do anything better than us unless they hang out with us, unless they emulate us. And we're taught to think that we have to take our culture, give it to them so we can buy it back. And that's supposed to be normal. Now, the thing that I look at, and I want people to notice, I just had a baby. I was in Cedars in Beverly Hills. It was nice for a hospital, but it still looked like a courtroom. It still looked like a prison, and it still looked like a school. So everything that the state makes available to us on a national level has this common denominator of a certain kind of lighting, a certain kind of walls, and a certain kind of feeling when you go in it. The feeling is I don't want to be there. When you walk into a court, you don't want to be there. When you walk into a hospital, you want to be there. You don't want to be there. So why would you set a school up to look like something that you don't want to be at? So I'm walking around. I'm walking around with my son, and and I'm looking and I'm like, why wouldn't they make this look like a spa? Why wouldn't they make this look like something that's fun to be at, that you want to go to? So that's why I love what Principal Akbar is doing on his own, making sure the experience is different. And, even though he's humble about it, and he's not humble, but he's humble about this. The crime rate went down when he gave those kids someplace to go. On Fridays, instead of going to a club to shoot up, come to the school where we can make sure y'all doing the right thing and monitor y'all. Get to know y'all. Hang out with y'all. He provides an opportunity for them to be entrepreneurs. Because like he said, I know when I'm young, unless you get money, I don't want to hear from you. Unless you fly, why do I want to listen to you when you whack? What can you teach me? I don't want to know how to be whack. I want to know how to make my situation better. I want to know how not to struggle. And the one thing that they don't teach you in school, and I know this for a fact, is to dream. They don't teach you to dream. They teach you to settle. They don't teach you to want the chip, to want the Super Bowl, to want to have everything that no one else has, unless you play a sport or you're an entertainer, which is provided to you as an option as well. And we all know that's lotto. So what happened is a kid who'll devote his whole life, like I can either go to school and get a job, or I can get nice at rapping or playing basketball or selling drugs and, get some real money. Which it's more fun to play a game to make money. So you devote your whole life trying to play a game, and one wrong turn and it's over. And it usually happens, and then you're not even prepared to fit in. What's next? Jail. Because now you got to hustle. They determine the jail sizes on how many people can't read. They know if you can't read, you won't survive, you'll choose crime, and that's where you'll go.
Thank you. Because you were bringing up Akbar and his vision and what he's doing in terms of changing the narrative. And so Principal Akbar Cook, Westside High School, I wanted to invite you to talk about this vision or this oasis, if you will, that you are creating in Newark, and how this connects to controlling the narrative in education and Black media and the opportunities you provide for your young people.
So to piggyback off what Dame said, trying to build entrepreneurs, people that dream. I am a school of business and finance. So first and foremost, we have a Capital One branch in my school. We have the only one in the state of New Jersey that's ran by my students. My students get paid $16 an hour to be branch managers. They teach my other kids financial literacy. Everyone in my school gets to open up an account for $1, and Capital One will match up to $50. So now if I take that they already got this little, plus 50, and show them how to invest it, how to create businesses, meaning, we have something called virtual enterprises, one of my pathways, and the kids go through a simulated model where they do just like Shark Tank. They come up with the idea with a group of other kids, and then they barter and they compete with kids from 42 other countries. And so if I want to sell apparel, I buy my thread from this kid in India, I buy my ink for someone in Tanzania, and then they're coupled with mine, and I come with the product. So they create this ecosystem that is fully virtual, that shows the kids how to pay their bills and all of that. That's just one pathway, right? So you're thinking about my building, the whole building will be set up like a business. So you need the kids that are the dreamers, like Dame said, the entrepreneurs. We have a pathway for them. Then you got to think about accounting and finance. You got to get the bag in order to finance your dream. So you take the people that's good with money, and then you throw all of the batteries behind their back and show them how to network and how to get money to fundraise and do all of that. Once you get that, now you have to. Once you have the product, you got advanced manufacturing. So we partner with NJIT, and we have this advanced manufacturing pathway. Now you advance manufacture the product, and the last one we have, besides marketing, because we partner with Google for that, is the logistics, is the getting it to the consumers, which is my supply chain model. So then we have my kids that are good at logistics, and they show the whole business how to get there. So now that my whole building is set up like the infrastructure of a business, now you pull in what's innate with them. If it's music, we got the Dame Dash Studios, we're doing overlays, and now not just teaching you how to be in front of the mic or in front of the camera, because we know everybody talk about Lil Baby. Well, Lil Baby on QC label, he make more than Lil Baby because he paying. So I'm showing them how to be QC, not just Little Baby, podcasting and all that other stuff. Or I got kids that want to do fashion. Got Popperton. I don't want to keep plugging Dame, but we got Popperton, and we partner with them to show the kids that. But I also got a salon. It is not about just doing hair. My ladies in here know that Rihanna is about to be a billionaire because of Fenty. If I could show my babies how to make the products that they sell, the fingernail polish and all of that, they can do that. I got other stuff cooking too, Fia, but mainly is I want my school to look like a mall. And all of these businesses are run by my kids. We talked about farm. I have a farm, but it's bigger than just selling those products. It's about, why do I get all of this, this farmed, vegetables and fruits from all these other places, and by the time I get it, it has no nutrients in it. So I'm going farm to table with my kids. They get the nutrients right there, and anything that I have, I am giving to the community. I'm still doing farmers markets and things of that nature, but bottled up hot sauce, salsa, chimichurri, whatever you want to call it, and my kids are selling. They getting paid, so my kids don't got to run out of my building to go work at Chipotle when they can do everything in their school and be around their friends and be around us, because the longer they're not with me, they get into more trouble. So I'm creating that ecosystem where they don't have to go nowhere. They're their own bosses, and they can go out in anything. Now, I'm going to end it with this. Like my mayor and we have other investors that will invest in those kids, angel investors, if they got something that's good.
Hey, let me ask you a question, right? It seems logical that that's what school should be. Why is it that you're the only one that sees that as the normal?
Well, that's not true, Dane.
Meaning, I'm not saying as a principal, I'm saying the Board of Education, nationally. The people that study this know that this is the right way to do it, and they don't do it intentionally.
But Dane, the enemy is not going to free our children. The enemy is not going to educate our
100%. That's what I'm saying. So that's the reason why we got to do it ourselves. I would never expect our oppressor. A warden's not going to give you the keys to get out of jail.
Gentlemen, one mic, please. Dr. Malik, you wanted to respond to Dane's question.
But I didn't get to ask it. My question was...
Right. So
I didn't get to ask the question.
That the system wasn't designed to ensure the success of our children. But you know what? As black men, we were designed to ensure the success of our children.
But
I got to take a minute, too, to stun like God stunned. So I'm a middle school person, and what I understand is one of the things that really plays our children is what I like to call the opportunity gap. And so making sure that our children have opportunities. So as a middle school, we offer 3 years of French, 3 years of coding. We offer robotics, gaming, because I don't know if you guys know, but you can actually get college scholarships for gaming, and you can make millions of dollars gaming professionals. So we just bought.
Not could, they do.
Started a gaming team. We have rugby, debate. Our debate team only debates private schools because our kids need to know that they can operate at that level and above that level, right? We offer chess, track. I got kids who are getting 4-year scholarships to college because of the track program that they were a part of in my school, and we nurtured that all the way up to the college. We offer music, dance, hip-hop development, hair braiding and makeup, all of these things, in addition to exposing our children to all kinds of cultural arts, whether it's at the Lincoln Center, or whether it's the opera, or whether it's the ballet, or whether it's a hip-hop tour through Brooklyn. So again, one of the things, again, that our children don't have is exposure. So making sure that they're exposed to the world really is my goal. When I was in middle school, my first trip to Africa was when I was only in 5th grade. So as a child, I was already traveling internationally. I was already going to theater and ballets and involved in martial arts and African dance and so forth and so on. So my goal as a principal, when I decided to become a principal, what I did was study what it is that private schools do. And though we can't replicate everything that they do, we can replicate a lot with the exception at scale, with the exception of small class size. Okay? So just bringing the world to our children and exposing them to the world so that they know that there's a world out there and that they can play a part in it and that they can move amongst everybody else and be comfortable and not feel like it's foreign when they go to Manhattan or when they go to Cali or whatever. We take our children on overnight trips out of state every year. And so again, opportunities, exposing them to the world, because you cannot achieve what you cannot conceive. So putting the world in front of my children is a major goal and is a major part of the work that we do out in East New York.
Hey, I got to jump back in because Ak over here stunned me. I ain't about to get bodied like that. So let me take it to West Coast real quick. So,
well, for those of y'all who don't know, Principal Rod, I just wanted to jump in. For those of you who don't know, the OSG network is full of principals who are committed to controlling the narrative, full of leaders who are committed to controlling the narrative, full of people who are ready to jump out the window and innovate, create, motivate, inspire, elevate, and challenge, disrupt, and dismantle. And so that is who we are. What you see here, the beginning of that vision starts with Dennis McKeezy, our founder of OSG, and our crew. But what you see here is how we show up every Thursday. So before Principal Rod jumps in, I want to invite you to the Thursday meetup, OSG, on our network. Go see us on Twitter, no, we are not on Twitter. Go see us on Instagram, on Facebook, the official OSG, and Principal Rod, who is wearing our OSG apparel. Wow, let him see you stun on our shirt for a minute before you stun on your school.
Stun on real quick.
Stun on
tag me in, man. I'm over here. Let me, you over here. I'm ready to get him, and you over here on me. No, I'm just playing. But no,
jump in.
I started school from literally from the grassroots, right? So I got the name of the school, University Pathway Public Service Academy. We opened the school from the grassroots. We didn't have no building. Had 9 months to figure it out. Opened up a school. We're the only school that has a full law academy. All right, it's a law society that got the top 40 under 40 lawyers out here in California. Because to control the narrative, we also got to control the courtroom. We also got to control the aspects and understanding that consciousness matter, not only in the courtroom, but in public policy. So we have a full-fledged courtroom on our campus where we teach debate, where we teach our young people how to navigate in public policy and how to be the boss in the courtroom and how to represent in the courtroom and how to ultimately change the pathways for our young people that may get in for nonviolent crimes and how to really go and advocate for those young people, right? So we have a courtroom where it comes in and they do all that. Second, we the only school probably in California that got an FBI academy, all right? We got an FBI academy that's taught by CIA agents that come in because it's important for them to understand how this damn system works, right? And in order for people that look like them, because representation first matters, but then that consciousness that I speak, I don't want y'all to forget, consciousness matters, right? come in and they teach our young people what it's like and what the inside like. They take them to the FBI bureau right here out in LA to learn about that. Third, we got a firefighter academy, right? And we got with the biggest thing, we're trying to get more of our young women into being a firefighter because it's heavily driven by men. So we are the only school that has the captain of the Los Angeles County Fire Department that come in and teach our young people how to become firefighters. Let me get to our studio. We have 14 3D printers that teach all of our students how to learn how to 3D encode. Antoine Digital for the East Coast come out and teach our students how to code. And we have a full design lab where we teach them how to code. And we have a full entrepreneurial set where they learn how to come up with their own fashion. We got the t-shirt press up in the building. We got a music studio, teach them how to rap. You know, back in the days, I thought it was a little rap or a little solo something. So we had a music studio. Then we developed a house system on our campus that is culturally relevant. Shout out to Nipsey Hussle, the marathon continues. So we got a house of hustle to teach our young babies how to motivate. We got the house of advocacy that teach our young students how to advocate. We got the house of Obama after Michelle Obama. We ain't talking about Barack, we talking about Michelle. We got to give representation to that queen, and it's the house of friendship. And then we have the house of courage, because we want to teach our young people, you got to stand for something, and that's after the house of capital. So these 4 houses compete on our campus so they can go get it in the world, right? And lastly, you know, when you're building, you know, being a founding principal, so you building and sustaining, right? So when we're talking about entrepreneurship, I talked about Capital One. We got the Bank of California. We got to talk about them with our financial branch, teaching our young people financial literacy, and we're opening up our branch. We got our credit union that's going to be a branch at our school with Bank of California coming soon to teach our young people the importance of macroeconomics. Because there's a big difference between black spending and a black economy, right? So we understand that we got money to spend, but the cycle of the dollars was important. So teaching our students how financial literacy works, but how macroeconomics work. Because if you give the system permission to feed you, you also give them permission to starve. And I don't want none of my students to starve. I'll leave right there.
And so this is what we are hustlers. This is what hustling looks like. This is what it looks like to body the block. This is what it looks like to have healthy competition. This is what it looks like to have steel sharpen steel. So, congrats to Big Ock and to Ra out there in Compton.
This is exactly what it looks like. That was a great segue, Dr. Small. I'm looking at our time, and I'm thinking about what you all offered. And we had our mayor here, and so we had big representation of a woman in leadership. And I'm more than comfortable to stand as the queen amongst the kings in this moment. But when you talk about building something and telling the story and all of the resources that all of you have been strategic about creating for students that are outside of math, science, history, and English, you're talking about really creating resources for them and the space for them to think and dream. And then you talk about building. So as a founding Principal Ra, you and I have in common, we know what it means to build brick by brick, but when students get to be a part of that, they understand that anything you can think or dream, you can begin it, right? Because boldness has brilliance and magic in it, right? I believe that's Goethe who said that. But it's all true. And so when we talk about, in our final minutes, thinking about controlling the narrative in education and black media, at their fingertips, right? They can talk to the world. At their fingertips, they have 24-hour access to each other and to people whose ear, who they want to show things to, say things to. Talk a little bit about, and I tried to get at this before, but I want to make sure that as leaders, you all speak to how you teach your students about their own messaging, their own brand. Because unless we teach them, Thea Davis is her brand. Right? She is connected. The world knows this name and attaches it to, oh yeah, she was the founding principal. We're going to start. She was the founding principal. Oh yeah, she closed it with the gains. Oh yeah, she got that school to the 1990 level. She became deputy. So my name is my brand. Let's talk about how we teach them to create their brand as they have access to the world 24/7.
I'll start off again. I'm going to kick this off. I can't, like I said, as educators, we have to model. I can't show my students how to model being a brand if I'm not showing them how to be a brand. My students follow me on social media. They understand that my brand is being revolutionary. That means you make an immediate impact. You make an immediate positive impact. See, the difference between evolutionary and revolutionary is evolution is a long, gradual change. Revolutionary is an immediate impact. So I'm going to show you how you can revolutionize the educational experience by being the lion of the lion's den. But I'm also going to show you how you get this bag and build a brand through social media. There's no principal that's putting out more content than this, right? I'm putting out content. I'm also, you know what? I'm more than a principal. I wrote a book. You get that? I wrote a book. Right, so you can write a book, use your knowledge, write a book, put your mind to paper, write a book, right? You keep going and you keep building a brand. Just because you're a principal, you don't stop dreaming. Just because you never stop dreaming. You never, like Fia, you a founding principal, you ain't never stop building. Right? Our foundation needs to be strong for those big New York buildings, those skyscrapers around the West Coast. My foundation got to be strong for that earthquake. My foundation got to be strong. So come see me. Young king, young queen, follow me. I'm going to show you the knowledge. I'm going to show you the sacred knowledge. I'm going to show you the branding. I'm going to show you how to get the bag. And I'm going to show you how to show others too. Because you got to pay it forward. Like I said, that's that sacred knowledge. That's that change agent. That's that lion that's inside of you that you go and eat, but you show others how to eat too. And if you're not showing others how to eat too, I'm on you. Right? Because that is the village. That's the village energy we gotta create. That's the cooperative economics that we have to abide by. That's the collective work and responsibility of if everyone does a little, no one person has to do a lot. That's the faith. That's the purpose. That's the creativity. That's the unity. Nguzo Saba, 7 principles. Let's get it.
For me,
Come on, Principal Ron. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's my pinch hitter. That's my pinch hitter right there. That's my DH. That's my designated hitter right there. What's going on, Rob? Good job.
As principal, as black men, as change agents, number one, I tell all my teachers, even in the interview process, when you come to my school and you work with me, you're signing on to be a parent to every child in front of you. And if you're not comfortable being a surrogate parent, if you're not comfortable being their other mom and their other dad, then you don't need to work here for starters. We gotta have a conspiracy of love. As principals, as black men, we gotta be larger than life to these children because the competition is so fierce. They got the dope boy. They got all these other things that are competing for their interests, competing for their energy. So they gotta look at us and they gotta be like, yo, I wanna be like him. I'm all dressed up tonight, but I only put on a suit on about once a week when I'm in the school building. I try to have the kids identify with me. I'm walking in, we comparing sneakers. I'm letting kids say, yo, I love that car. I like the way he move, and I like the way he roll up in that Beamer, so forth and so on, because I want kids to aspire to be like me, right? The other thing that's important, and if you remember Ralph Ellison, the Invisible Man, a lot of times our children, and not just our children, but the brothers and sisters in the community who might be involved in some illegal pharmaceutical sales and things of that nature, they're invisible. And so I make sure that we see our children, we see our community, and that they know we see them. Because when they know that we see them, when they know that we're going to come over and we're going to talk to you, and we're not afraid of you, and we love you, and we're going to hug you, and we're going to hold you. I remember one time I had a kid in crisis, and he was big, and he wanted to knock somebody out. So I'm on this kid's back. He was that big. I'm literally wrapped around him, and I'm whispering in his ear words of positive affirmation and words like, yo, bro, I just need you to calm down, let's go talk, so forth and so on, as opposed to, yo, let's go grab the cuffs, let's take him down. So again, having a conspiracy of love, recognizing what trauma looks like and treating it that way. At the end of the day, I also tell my teachers, we're the doctors, we're the technicians. If someone comes into your operating room with a gunshot, with a knife wound, you're not going to say, yo, what you was doing, robbing the bank, you was robbing the liquor store, I'm not going to help you. So when our kids come to us injured, when they come to us hurting and in pain, it's for us to heal them, not to judge them and look at them as if they did something wrong. It's our job to heal them. It's our job to hold them. And so, again, just the whole notion, the idea that black men can just be in love with the children and in love with the community, and that we can stand in front of our young ladies and show them what non-sexualized love looks like, and we can stand in front of our young men and show them what real manhood looks like. That's the job. That's what we're charged with doing, and that's what our life's work is about.
I think that's a perfect segue for you, as he talked about focusing on the love. I think
that was the alley-oop for
yeah, because I got so OSG Press. If you guys don't know OSG Press, we the first book is coming out. It's my book. It's called Focus on the Love. It's a
woo!
Yes,
I got hype. I heard you. OSG Press. Let's go.
Press is a transformative approach to organizational leadership, and in the book, I just talk about when I first got hired as a teacher. I was hired because I was a big black man, and they wanted me to be a bully. Straight up, they wanted me to throw kids off the wall and like a drill sergeant. But when I got hired as a principal, I got hired because they sort of love that I have for these kids and how they follow me. So it just shows you that if you lead with love, amazing things can happen. So I don't want to give all of that. I know Dennis and Denise will give me if I give y'all too much. But I just want to talk about what we were saying, right, about the media, right? So we started at Westside something that's called Shine to Them, right? Foundation. The Shine to Them is I had like some fashion folks that, when you get fashion, your next line is coming out. So the spring line is about to come out. So your winter, what do you do with your winter line? They just usually just do nothing with it. Let me get those clothes, please. I want my kids to shine so I can dim the light on them going the drug dealers, or dim the light on the gangs and all that. So doing things of that nature. Everything we do, all these principles you see at Malik Fly, Rob Fly, Dennis, Dane Fly, that means something in this culture. I don't care what you say. You can say whatever you want to. You have to be fly. You have to be. And my baby girls, if I got some baby girls on here, please, if that's not a king, he don't treat you like a queen, yo, keep it pushing. You don't need him. You don't need him. And as much as we build up our men, we got to build up our ladies, man. Y'all run the world. Y'all run the world. And I try to make sure that my queens, my princesses, oh my God, the world would be so different if y'all was in charge, right? Just so different. But with that being said, we have to. I posted something today from Dr. Eric Thomas, and it said, impress your mother, impress your grandmother, impress that person that was with you when you were sick. Y'all worrying about somebody that don't even know you, what they think about you. Like, what are you doing? He ended saying, if you want approval, get it from God in the bank. That's what I'm talking about. That just resonates in my soul. Like, boy, you in fear. When I speak to my young men and they be like, yeah, so-and-so getting the bag. Like, cause y'all doing a block. I be like, how much money he got? I be like, that's McDonald's money. I can't pay my driveway with that. Y'all looking up to this fool? Like, boy, you don't get out of here. So that's what we doing. OSG, man, listen. Grandma said you gotta bump the thumb, right? You gotta bump the thumb. So we talked about that earlier. You're gonna have to figure that stuff out, right? But I hate that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, damn it, I'm gonna give him a straw. I'm gonna do whatever I can to make sure my babies are successful. And if you don't, get out the way. We here. You see Malik, you see Rob. We here. Y'all in trouble, man. Y'all in trouble just to be getting, man. OSG Press, Focus on the Love, Transformative Approach to Organizational Leadership, about to come out, and I just thank you guys, for having me. And I'll leave you with the saying that I say all the time, proverb, we're supposed to. It says, a candle does not lose its flame by lighting up the candles. Please keep lighting up the candles.
So, before you, I said, don't put yourself on mute yet, because I have a request. What you're not going to do is talk about who's fly and run a list on here and not say Fia Davis. So you're going to need to bring that whole rundown again and act like you see me moderated with grace, style, and poise, and fly.
You got, listen,
the whole
Fia.
list again.
Listen, all my OSG, listen. Dame tell us about controlling our narrative. Dame said you want to be fly, don't wait for nobody else at their affirmation. I created my own magazine. I'm on the cover. Damn it, I'm gonna be on the cover like Oprah. Every cover I'm on the front. And I got my OSG team in there, all the way to Scotland and back to ride, and we all fly fresh to death in there. You know, some fresher than others. Shout out to Rachel. She looked like a model in her picture in Scotland. But yes, Fia, you are a queen. You are doing it with so much grace. You are a deputy superintendent, and you're talking about a doctorate? Are you serious? And still getting the nails. Yeah. So do your thing, Fia.
Much better. Thank you. So if you haven't been to the meetup, this is just a moment for us to give each other some love and a hard time at the same time. This vision of Dennis Merkisi, off school grounds, OSG, the OSG family. I'm so excited to be here. This is an event for young people, by young people. The Mount Vernon Youth Council, Priscilla Eshe. Dennis, did you want to say some final words before we close out? You're on mute, Dennis. Okay.
Yeah, wow. Well, I mean, what else could I say but wow, right? You know, I'm fortunate to be around these amazing school leaders as often as I am. At least, I mean, I see them all on Thursday during our meetup, but I speak to them so frequently. And a couple of days ago when I reached out to Principal Ra and said to him, yo, listen, you know, I need you to be a pinch hitter for me today. I need you to be a designated hitter for me. I think it was a great call to actually have him to round this team and to round this family out. So, you know, Fia, you know, I can't thank you enough for how you moderated tonight. You know, you truly set the precedent of what OSG stands for, which is not only elegance, not only flyness, but you know what, about power and about, you know, putting an emphasis about the young people. And when you brought back London, that just tells the world what we're about. So again, I can't even begin to thank the panelists tonight. You know, I think what was funny, Fia, as I'm looking at the guests as they coming in the room, and I saw a mayor. You know, obviously we had Mayor Patterson here, but we also got Mayor Frank Whitfield from, I believe he's from Ohio, is in here as well. So if he's here, let him. If he's here, I want you to just introduce yourself. Are you in here, Mayor? Mayor Frank Whitfield?
Yes, I am. I appreciate it. I'm just super inspired by all about controlling the narrative. You know, my city, I'm the first African American elected in my 200-year history of this county, and a predominantly white city, and it's all about controlling our narrative. So just salute to what y'all doing, and start with the, you know, it's all about education, hitting them young, and just respect everything that y'all doing. Just want to be a part of this any way that I can.
Absolutely, brother. If anything, I want you to, Fia, just do me a favor. Let's find a way we get Mayor Whitfield's information, because I definitely want him to come on the meetup and spend some time with him. All right, Fia?
Mayor Whitfield, if you can message me directly in the chat, and I'll have your information, or put it in the chat if you're comfortable.
And once again, go ahead, man.
I'll drop my email in the chat. Feel free, anybody can promote.